Going Beyond is a presentation of Beyond Housing, helping entire communities become better places to live with RareGem Productions. Reliance Bank is the proud sponsor of today's Going Beyond program. Let Reliance Bank help you get what you need from your bank. Phone number 314-569-7200 or find Reliance Bank online at reliancebankstl.com. Reliance Bank.
Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
We're going beyond.
Today on Going Beyond.
On today's show, we're going to hear about a great resource for our children in the St. Louis region.
The state statute allows us to fund programs in 10 service areas. And let me just tell you real quickly what they are. Temporary shelter, transitional living, services to unwed and teen parents, respite care, crisis intervention, school-based prevention, home and community-based services, outpatient counseling, outpatient substance abuse, and outpatient psychiatry.
That covers a wide landscape.
It certainly does.
And sadly, a lot of our children in the St. Louis region and the St. Louis County need those services. Joining me on today's show is Interim Executive Director of St. Louis County's Children's Trust Fund, Miss Julie Leicht. Beyond Housing is going beyond.
That and more ahead today on Going Beyond with Chris Krehmeyer, right after this. Reliance Bank is focused on meeting the banking needs of the entire St. Louis community. That's because Reliance Bank, unlike the big national banks, is locally owned and operated. It's run by people you know, and that's important when you're looking for a personal checking account that's really free, a mortgage, or a loan for your business. So stop in and introduce yourself at one of their 20 branches throughout the St. Louis area. Reliance Bank, making money a little friendlier.
Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
My name's Robert Friend. I'm CEO of the Regional Health Commission here in St. Louis, and I believe that here in St. Louis we can make sure everybody has access to health care regardless of what they look like, regardless of their income status, regardless of what their job is, regardless of what their disease is, and that we're going to achieve that in the next decade. And I believe in going beyond.
We're going beyond. Welcome to this edition of Going Beyond. I'm your host, Chris Krehmeyer, President and CEO of Beyond Housing. On today's show, we're going to hear about a great resource for our children in the St. Louis region. Joining me on today's show is Interim Executive Director of St. Louis County's Children's Trust Fund, Miss Julie Leicht. Julie, welcome to the show.
Thank you. My pleasure to be here.
I know about the great resources that your organization has, but a lot of our listeners don't. So let's first start off with maybe a little bit of history about the Trust Fund.
Sure, I would love to. Well, as you know, in November of 2008, the voters of St. Louis County approved a Children's Service Fund tax, and that's a $0.25 for children's substance abuse and mental health services. So the tax was passed in 2008, and the county began collecting the monies in 2009, but we didn't make our first allocation until August of 2010. So when the tax was approved, it just allowed the county to have the funding mechanism in place, but we had to hire a staff. We had to figure out what the allocation process looked like, how we wanted to structure ourselves. So as I said, that first allocation was done in August of 2010, and by then, the money had been collecting. So in August of 2010, we already had a fund balance of $42 million. And by the end of the year, we had a fund balance of $60 million. So it's kind of a double-edged sword to have that much money. It's
good to have money. So let's talk a little bit about what does the trust fund do? What kind of things does it fund relative to the needs of our children? And these are all programs serving children in St. Louis County, correct?
Correct. It's children 19 and younger. So we are governed by a state statute. So the state allowed each county to enact a statute to collect a tax. So you'll notice in some counties it's a sales tax, some counties it's a property tax. Not every county in Missouri has enacted the tax. But the state statute allows us to fund programs in 10 service areas. And let me just tell you real quickly what they are. Temporary shelter, transitional living, services to unwed and teen parents, respite care, crisis intervention, school-based prevention, home and community-based services, outpatient counseling, outpatient substance abuse, and outpatient psychiatry.
That covers a wide landscape.
It certainly does.
And sadly, a lot of our children in the St. Louis region and the St. Louis County need those services. So it's a great resource for not-for-profit organizations to be able to come to the trust fund and ask for financial support to meet the needs of the many kids living in St. Louis County that are struggling with a whole host of those issues. Could you talk a little bit about maybe some examples of a few of organizations that the trust fund funds and participates with, so our listeners get a sense of kind of who are your partners in actually getting the work done?
Sure. Well, we have currently 67 partners. So, our county is very large. The need is great. So with our 10 service areas, we need a lot of partners to deliver services. So we have agencies, large ones and small ones, like Epworth, Youth in Need, Kreider, Wyman, Big Brothers, Big Sisters. So a lot of our agencies are in the schools because that's where the kids are every day. So we know we have to reach out to them. So under that school-based services, in 2013, we funded $9.1 million just for school-based services. So as I said, we're a wide array of agencies that help us. And as a matter of fact, on Monday, we just kicked off our one funding cycle, and it's targeting agencies we currently don't fund. So we're looking for agencies to expand our whole system of care. And it was very interesting. We had about 30 agencies representing new agencies. So this will be a process. It kicks off, and there's a call for letters of intent or a concept paper. So it's a 3-pager that agencies can submit. You have to be a 501c3 or a governmental entity. You can go to our website, keepingkidsfirst.org, and you can find out more information about that. But our board's allocated up to $5 million for that cycle. And one of the reasons why we're able to is because of the large fund balance. So one of the things that we did is part of our strategy to spend down our fund balance is to introduce 2 new cycles of funding this year. This one targeting the agencies that currently are not funding, and then we just awarded contracts for discovery or innovation, which is kind of unheard of in this day and age. Our board set aside another $5 million for agencies that had a neat idea about maybe a different way to deliver services to kids, and so 24 agencies received funding in that. So I'm really excited to see how that all pans out.
So clearly we know that the needs of our children are many, and quite
Yes.
frankly, we've not done a great job at meeting all those needs. So again, the innovation, the discovery
Right.
funding allows folks to innovate and try some things differently, and it allows a funding source. So speaking from the not-for-profit space, we clearly love having opportunities to get newer resources that we haven't had before and try some new things.
Right.
That might work, which would be great if they did, but even if they don't, it's good to explore to see what else can we do to serve the needs of the children of our region.
It's kind of like R&D in the private sector where, yeah, you're right. Some things are going to work and some aren't, but let's try. For instance, in kids, how they interact, it's a little different. So one of the discoveries initiatives is for, an app for kids, a mobile app for kids to access mental health professionals. So a little out of the box. And I think it's really going to be interesting to see how this works. And a number of our discovery initiatives, the kids are designing the projects. So really to get that input because they're the ones that are the users. So we're really excited about that. So if you couple the discovery initiatives and the new cycle that we're just kicked off this week, that's $10 million more that we're putting in the community. So as I said, with our fund balance, this is the first year that we're going to see the fund balance trend down. We're going to reduce it by $10 million. And our goal, and with our spending plan, is that we will have it equal to our reserve level by the end of 2017.
So again, you built up dollars early on because you were just getting started trying to figure out, okay, how are we going to do this effectively, use taxpayers' dollars
Exactly.
In an effective way to meet the needs of children in the region. So you did grow a fund balance, but as you look at your allocation of dollars through both new initiatives and your regular funding cycle, you're anticipating to kind of get back down to some reasonable fund balances with the appropriate reserve to make sure that the trust fund has dollars available.
And the thing is, we are criticized at times for having a large fund balance, but again, I must say that, we are a baby organization. So we've only been around about 4 years. And then, as I said, the balance was building before we even had the allocation process in place. But we weren't going to spend money just because we had the money. This is taxpayer dollars, so we have to invest it wisely to make sure it gets the greatest impact. And I think that's what we've done, that we have taken that approach.
So there's a board of directors that allocates the funds?
Correct. So there's a 9-member board of directors, and they make the allocations decisions. So all of us who work for the Children's Service Fund, we're county employees. So Mr. Dooley, the county executive, appoints the members to the board, and then they make those decisions. So we're the administrative arm of the Children's Service Fund.
So let's talk a little bit more about the kind of the real programmatic deliveries. Pick one or two agencies in a program or two that, again, would give a good example of, even though there's a wide swath of things you do, and there's probably not one great example for everyone, but one of the programs that you like the most relative to serving the needs of kids in St. Louis County?
Well, let's see. A couple of them are. So let's say one of our partners is CHADS, and they do a lot of the bullying prevention. And they go into the schools and work with the kids on the effects of bullying and how to deal with that if you're a victim of that. They've been very successful in that. They're a small little organization, and they were formed because their child committed suicide, and so they wanted to make a difference. And to me, I think that's really pretty cool. Another interesting program we fund is Youth in Need BHR does our Youth Connection Hotline. So, even though we fund 67 agencies, the public doesn't need to know all the 67 agencies. All they need to know is our helpline telephone number, and that's manned by mental health professionals 24/7. So if you call and you have a problem, they'll say, okay, well, we'll get you in here. And a lot of times, we're a priority to the agencies, and they'll get those appointments quickly. The best thing we haven't even mentioned, Chris, is this is at no cost to county residents, which is totally amazing. So if you live in St. Louis County, you can access those services. And before I forget, let me just give you the number of the helpline. It's 314-628-2929.
Say that one more time.
314-628-2929.
So that's anybody in St. Louis County can call that number to receive services or have their child or their niece, nephew.
Right.
So somebody receives services from the multiple agencies that get funding from the Children's Trust Fund.
And a neat thing, another part of our Youth Connection Helpline is our mobile unit, which I think is really amazing. So let's say you have a child and your child is locked in the bathroom and you think that they're going to do harm to themselves and you don't know what to do as a parent. So you can call our Youth Connection Helpline and you say, hey, I have this problem. This is what's going on. They'll send a mobile unit to your home and they'll deal with the situation right then and there, which is totally amazing. Another thing we have is our Safe Place program where most of all the Quick Trips and the Walgreens and the bi-state buses, you'll see a yellow kind of diamond and it says Safe Place. And that's an indication to any child if they see that, they could go into a Quick Trip and they could say, you know what, I am having a problem, I ran away from home or whatever. Those individuals that work in that store are trained to set the child aside, give them something to eat, get them comfortable, and then they'll call our Youth Connection Helpline and get the mobile unit out there to deal with the child. So to me, to have all those, it's over 200 places in the community where the children can go for help. So I think that's really amazing as well.
So as we come to close, we spent a fair amount of time on this show kind of talking about education. So let's talk a little bit about the school-based program you mentioned. Clearly, that's where the kids are every day, right? And that's where some of the challenges kind of present themselves relative to the issues that the kids are facing. Talk about the emphasis on school-based programming. That's really a great point to make. As you know, county, we're kind of unusual. We have 23 school districts in St. Louis County. So how we have it structured now, it's up to the school district to request services with the agencies. And one of the things that I've only been in this position close to 2 years is I realized we need to do a better job of coordinating our efforts in the school districts. So what I did is I met with all the 23 school districts, either the superintendents or their designee, and talked about how can we help as the Children's Service Fund? What kind of services can we provide? The superintendent obviously has to be the gatekeeper. They have to protect their academic day, but they know the best what kind of services are needed in their school. So each school district is structured a little differently. That's one of our focuses for this year is to work, kind of coordinate those efforts a little better with the school districts and try to get the services to the kids because I said that's where they are every day. And for most part, some districts struggling with academic issues, financial issues. So each district kind of has our agencies there in varying degrees. But I want to make sure that if a school district has a need, we're there to serve it. And clearly from firsthand experience, the work that the fund partners have done in Normandy has been great stuff. Obviously, the last couple of years have been very difficult and challenging for the children and their families. And I know a number of the organizations have been in place on the ground in the schools providing services to kids and their families. So one more time, if our listeners want some more information about how to access services through St. Louis County Children's Trust Fund, what's the number they should call?
Okay, 314-628-2929.
Interim Executive Director of St. Louis County Children's Trust Fund, Ms. Julie Leicht. Julie, thank you for the show, and thank you for all the great work Trust Fund is doing in St. Louis County.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Reliance Bank is pleased to sponsor today's Going Beyond radio show. With 20 locations throughout the St. Louis area, Reliance Bank, your locally owned hometown bank, is making money a little friendlier.
Member FDIC and Equal Housing Lender.
We're going beyond.
Going Beyond is a presentation of Beyond Housing, helping entire communities become better places to live with RareGem Productions. Proudly promoting, presenting, and producing positive programming.
Neighborhood is where you live, and and we want to keep it strong and vibrant. This is Chris Krehmeyer with Beyond Housing. We are going beyond.
Chris Krehmeyer, President and CEO of Beyond Housing. Located at 4156 Manchester, phone number 314-533-0600. The only organization in the St. Louis region that offers access to affordable housing. Wherever we work, our goal is to help transform people, families, and communities so that they achieve the skills, strategies, resources, and commitment to succeed for the long term. See our work at beyondhousing.org. Podcast for Going Beyond can be heard, downloaded, and shared by visiting hallelujah1600.com. Listed under the music tab, on demand. Going Beyond is another positive production of RareGem Productions.